Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Bitcoin, everybody. Today is Friday, May 15th, 2020. This is your daily source for everything cryptocurrency markets and personal finance. I'm your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at CrackingCrypotcurrency.com. We've got a fantastic show for you guys today. So much to talk about. We're going to be talking about Binance's new options contracts and the fact that they honestly are pretty terrible. We'll be talking about kind of the mining and hash rate trends that we've noticed over the last few days post-halving, as well as covering last night's about 5% drop in the matter of a few minutes, and overall where we currently sit with price action. If you guys have any questions, make sure to drop them in the live chat. The moderators will bring my attention to them as we get later into the show. Later on, after we do the news, after we do the analysis, we're going to be bringing on senior analyst Alex, junior analyst Jason, doing a little roundtable and discussing where we're currently sitting with price. Let's see here. A lot to talk about. Of course, before we begin, events like the halving. You can hear me twice. Saying I got some echo? I hope not. Shouldn't hear any echo. Yeah, shouldn't hear any echo. All right, I'm going to assume that I just misread that. Anyways. Yeah, I'm going to say that that's only you, maybe? Yeah. I do have my YouTube and DLive. Oh, okay. Yeah, he might have his YouTube and DLive open. That could be it. I pay pretty close attention to my mixer routing. All right, anyways, before we begin, if you guys are sitting on the sidelines and you're tired of trading with your gut, there's never been a better time to join our community and begin building your data-driven, technical, objective strategy. You can take advantage of our community and one-on-one mentoring. We just dropped new community mentoring sessions yesterday. As well as the introduction to Forex, the introduction to stocks video. I want to give a big shout out to Jason and Alex for working so hard on those. We are in the last stages of perfecting our Cybot automation. So much stuff that's on the table. Really so excited for 2020. It's so much stuff that we've been working on for pretty much the last 6 months that's getting really close to production rollout. So really excited. I mean, my team has been working really, really hard. So anyways, you can find all that and more at premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com or click the link in the description. It also works on mobile. All right, post-halving tonight. All right. By the way, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. It's the only way you'll be notified when we go live, even if you are a returning member. And if you've been around for a while, make sure to show support and smash that like button. That's the only way YouTube actually lets our content get out there into the ecosystem. With that being said, let's get right into the charts because there's so much I want to cover. Hopefully you guys are doing awesome. Let me know in the live chat. All right, here we are. I wanted to kind of look at Tensor Charts because Tensor Charts is obviously of all the listen, it's not the only heat map platform out there, but it is a good heat map platform. And also it's kind of just built in strategies are pretty good. I'll let Alex speak to this when he comes on. Alex has been doing a lot of research into moving averages and different ways to utilize them for different strategy creation. It's very interesting, to understand the different wave cycles that different moving averages can form and how they average out different lengths of data and what information and what actionable trade data that you can get from different moving averages and smoothing algorithms. And this is, one of the things that I've focused on with my indicator creation by making them as granular as possible, because I don't know exactly. I want my indicators to be usable and modular for anybody to be able to use them. My big thing is giving individuals the tools necessary and the education necessary to build their own verifiable strategy. I want individuals to understand that it takes courage and discipline and time to build their own trading system and stand very confidently on their own 2 feet, with the weight of the world pushing down on them, and stand there confidently and know, hey, I've done the work. I've built a system. I can trade these markets and I don't have to listen to anybody. I don't need any guru. I don't need any advice. I don't need a savior. I don't need anybody to come in here and tell me how to do this, because I have a system. I've back tested it. I've trusted it. And I know that I can make money in any market condition. And if I can't make money in any market condition, I know what market conditions I can make money in and how to identify those market conditions. And having that confidence. And people ask a lot like, hey, man, we've seen you in losing trades, we've seen you in winning trades, and you always see calm and the same. How do you kind of maintain that calm demeanor? And it's because I've done the work. I've done the work. I know that I can stand on my own 2 feet and trade my own strategy against the market. I don't care what whale does what Bitcoin's price does, what the Aussie Swissy's price does. I don't care what the central banks do. I don't care what the Federal Reserve does. I don't care. Doesn't matter. It's cool to speculate about because I do develop investment theses based off my research and investigation and make fundamental trades once in a while. I do make fundamental allocations in my investment portfolio that are based off of my research. But when it comes to my form of active income, which is technical trading, none of that stuff matters. It's all noise. It's all data noise that it's garbage in, garbage out for the most part. What my system processes is technical, objective indicator signals, and it's profitable doing that. So that's important. It's important to know. Anyways, I just wanted to point out the kind of different approach that Tensor Charts takes with their built-in SMA, simple moving average, and EMA crossover strategy. Typically, you'll see a fast EMA and a slow moving average crossover strategy. Tensor Charts does it the other way around with a fast SMA and a slow EMA, which is pretty interesting. So if we can just see this, obviously it's given us some pretty good trading signals over the last kind of big market cycles, catching this short pretty good right around this area, coming to the downside, and then catching the crossover to the upside quite nicely for this runoff and then closing below. And obviously, the EMA 55 has been acting as good support, dynamic support. Overall, this looks very droopy to me. It does look like we are going to end up breaking down. It took a few days, but I was validated on my shorts. I did hold my shorts. I am still short. Added to my short at the recent high that I posted yesterday for the premium members. But overall, looking well. The largest area of support that we do currently have is sitting right around 9,300 and 9,200. That's a nice iceberg chunk. There's over 500 BTC sitting there. At least there was last time of checking here on Tensor Charts. Let's go check the order books and see where that order has gone to. Yeah, about 361 BTC at 9,300, about 120 at 9,320, and another 267 at 9,250. Once that breaks down, really next significant area of support is going to be right around the $9,000 area. If that breaks, I do expect us to kind of go back and retest our medians, which we'll see on the larger charts here. So let's get into that. One thing that I wanted to talk about, a new report came out from FT Pool, F2 Pool. They have about 17% of the hash rate for the Bitcoin mining network, and they were talking about how they're seeing that mining pools are sending the least amount of Bitcoin to exchanges that they've seen in over half a year. And so this has been picked up by a few news outlets today and being carrying forward as being very bullish. It's saying that miners are not dumping their coins. We're not seeing miner capitulation, even though we've seen mining hash rate drop by about 36%. Those numbers are in now. Hash rate has continued to decline over the last 3 days, down about 36%. So we did actually see that mining drop off. We didn't see the miner capitulation yet. But again, it just depends on how you want to define miner capitulation. Hash rate down about 36% could be a good indicator. I mean, fits the bill of miner capitulation. However, the assumption was always made when you talk about miner capitulation that price will follow, because unprofitable miners will begin dumping their excess BTC onto the markets. And we haven't seen that. In fact, we've seen a little bit of the opposite. We have seen a slowdown of mining pools, who are the largest by volume senders of Bitcoin to exchanges. We've seen them slow down. But there's an angle here that people aren't really talking about, and that's market psychology, right? You have to understand that mining pools and miners understand that the entire Bitcoin community is watching them. All the speculators are watching them. And if they show a sign of weakness by beginning to sell or increasing their exchange inflows, then the market's going to panic, right? There's been all of this, there's been this entire kind of fundamental notion of miner capitulation following the halving, and you've got a lot of retail interest pre-halving and the run-up to the halving. So you got a lot of fresh money sloshing around in the system, and that creates an environment where somebody's going to get boned. And typically it's the retail traders who come in and buy the tops because they read the Bitcoin headline news. Of course, CNBC put out their infamous Bitcoin buy signal, and we know what happens almost every time they do that. You know, I wish they would put out the Bitcoin sell signal. Come on, CNBC. Wake up. Let's get this going, right? So I think that largely the way I'm interpreting this is that we can see this is exactly what I was expecting going into the halving, that we were going to see a large correction, that we were going to see minor capitulation. And so far, we haven't seen the large correction. We have seen the minor capitulation. And I think we're seeing miners right now playing the psychological game of not wanting to show a sign of weakness and slip, even though they're hurting. We've seen miner revenue drop because they're mining unprofitably right now, the majority of them. And all it's going to take is it's a cascading effect, right? It's a cascading effect. And we've got about another week and a half. Well, actually, we've got about 4 days now till the difficulty adjustment. It's going to happen on Monday afternoon. The difficulty adjustment will happen on Monday afternoon. So we'll really see what happens over that. So it's possible that we do see this large down moving over the weekend. It's unclear, right? Miners could hold their resolve through. Monday's market movements moving forward, what happens Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be very definitive of what's going to be, in my opinion, kind of the cycle here. Are we going to see this large correction? Kind of start, kicking off over the weekend, kind of kicked off a little bit last night and moving into, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Are we actually going to see the difficulty adjustment not be a good difficulty adjustment in favor of miners? We're going to see them continue to be unprofitable. And since the next difficulty adjustment won't be for 2 weeks, it's quite possible that we will see that kind of selling kick in there, because, staying unprofitable for 3 days is different from staying unprofitable for 2 weeks. So we'll just keep our eye on it. It's certainly something that you want to keep your eye on. Just advising everybody to be cautious right now, particularly with their position sizing. There's so much, there's so much emotional appeal. There's so much kind of populism going on right now in Bitcoin with, oh, we're super bullish. We're going to the moon. Everybody says we're going to the moon. You should buy right now. Invest your life savings. Let's go, baby. Come on. You're against the monetary system. And then, of course, you've got the other half of the market that are like, Bitcoin's going to retest $3,000, $1,000, $500. So, just be careful. Make your own assumptions on your own. At the end of the day, none of those people, none of those news articles that you read, not even me, I'm not going to be there to cover your debts. Nobody's going to be there to press that green button, to press that red button for you. At the end of the day, it's going to be you against the market. And it doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't have to be. This is the nice thing about having a community, right? So obviously, this is one of the huge benefits of having a group of traders that you can talk to. You can take what you've heard and run it through and run it past individuals who have less experience than you, more experience than you, better experience here, less experience over here. And you can get a good filtration of BS, which is absolutely important. So often one of the things that I'll do is, if I'm unclear about a fundamental event or how I feel about the market, I'll run it through individuals, and I'll take, instead of just having straight garbage in, I'll run it through my filter of knowledgeable individuals, and then I'll have a good data set to process. So make sure, again, at the end of the day, it's going to be you trading your own position, but the input knowledge that goes into that doesn't have to be that way. With that being said, look at the daily time frame. Daily time frames hovering above the baseline. Parallax is going to be dipping into the negative territory, and we are going to be looking at this cross under. And I talked about this obviously yesterday. I talked about this moving into, I talked about this yesterday. I talked about this Wednesday evening when I posted my evening update, which I don't often do, my evening update for the premium members, talking about how, again, despite of what's going on right here, I am going to be holding through this and watching this cycle out. Currently, we formed a lower high on Bitcoin on the daily time frame, having a pretty dark day. It's Friday. It's profit-taking day. This is a traditional day to see a down day. Saturday is often not too great as well. Again, what's really definitive for me is what's going to happen on Monday. Minx remains above the trigger line here after generating that buy signal 2 candles ago. Wadatar explosion is giving us a little bit of chop, and Parallax is again after 1 candle of upside is flipping back down to the downside, which is okay. These things can happen. That's why we have our other signals and our other filters to help process out against any sort of chop. So again, this is a tricky area of the market where I am using my own discretion to trade this particular area. I think Alex is guiding the premium members along beautifully by doing the exact right thing. Again, those following his lead, again, are still up about 1%, reached a max peak of being up about 7% on their total ROI, which was good. Any kind of long risk that was put on in this entry qualifier, nobody knows how the result of that trade is going to be. We are back in the band of the baseline, which is a no trade zone. So I would be hesitant to put on any positions as we sit right now today. And we'll take a look at what the other time frames are looking at here on Bitcoin. Again, my overall prognosis is that we are going to see further red moving into the weekend, as I've been expecting pretty much this whole time. And again, I really liked. I wasn't really expecting this volatile of a movement to the upside. And Monday is going to be really definitive. If we can hold the baseline now as a level of support, then we've got a good firm foundation. If the difficulty adjustment is positive come Monday and we're not going to see this excess sell side flow from Bitcoin miners, then we have established a good fundamental level where we can start to push for new all-time highs now. I was expecting to see a large decline before that happened. It's not necessary. It would be a little bit healthier. Of course, we also did just have a purging, right? For example, I know that there were some content creators that put out some videos just over the last few days that says, well, the halving's over now. Now the Bitcoin purge begins. Yeah, that's still my thought too. However, we did just have a 60% purge like 2 months ago. Bitcoin's not that kind, right? To let you buy the lows over and over and over and over and over again. Right. So just be a little wary, right? Who you guys are taking your information from. Not everybody's an expert out there. All right, let's take a gander over on the 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame, as I talked about, moving into yesterday's show, was indicating from optimized minks here, topping behavior, did give the 4-hour cross under on this candle, pretty much calling the bottom beautifully. The 4-hour is now hinting at slipping into bearish territory. A crossover at this point in time, however, would be considered a continuation long. This would be Alex's infamous topping above zero continuation pattern behavior that he likes to see. And again, kind of right at the range lows is okay as well. Cybot being quiet, Minx being quiet on the 4-hour time frame. 2-hour time frame. This was a nice bottom feeder signal right here, calling it right here and hitting that too. But let's see if we actually had a winning trade there. Not sure. Oh yeah. Look at that. Look at that. Insta profit for the premium members right there. Look at that one. That's a good one. That's a beautiful bottom feeder signal right there. Called it right there. And then on the very next candle, smack dab, boy. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, no such signal right now. Again, Minx just dipping into the negative territory on the 2-hour time frame right here. And again, this overall, I don't like this. Generally, when Bitcoin starts stair-stepping up, it continues up. And generally, when it starts stair-stepping down, it continues down. And this particular behavior where Bitcoin just starts sliding typically leads to a nice big red fatty. We've seen this time and time again. We can see it here. We can see it here. We can see it here. Trying to find another good example of it. You can see it here. So I'm not very positive about today's price action, particularly moving into Friday. Let's see what the 4-hour has in store for us. Again, and this is exactly what I wanted to talk about yesterday. We finally did, when I put out my newest trade. This is the short that I'm still in. I was wary. The one thing I was wary about throughout this whole kind of absorption area and run to the upside here was this backwardation in price, indicating that there was aggressive selling, and sellers were aggressively selling all the way up. And it wasn't going to be, I knew it wasn't going to be until that stop that we actually saw the reversal turnaround. I was a little stubborn in that sense, but it's okay. I was capitalized enough to weather it. And then where do we actually see the turnaround? Look at this. We actually get a premium on price and an explosive top. And what happens pretty quickly after that? 5-6% movement to the downside. So keep that in mind. Pretty good indicator. You have to use it with your own knowledge. Doesn't give you, it does help with directional bias, but it can help pinpoint entries and exits. Let's see here, kind of in conflux with that bottom feeder signal, we can see the ISA spot buy signal right here, getting that nice 1 to 2% trade as usual. Not getting any such signal now, though. We are consolidating below today's point of control, which is currently sitting on the ByBit chart at 94.90. I think that overall we're going to end up getting a breakdown below this. This is what it looks like. So if we end up getting a breakdown below this, next stop is going to be down here. My first take profit target around 9,100. Second take profit target is going to be down here around 87.53, which is basically going to be a sweep of these previous lows and these two untested points of control. Didn't quite hit it on this sell-off right here. We did sweep these lows, popped right back up, but failure to achieve, made a lower high, made another lower high, made another lower high. So overall price action not looking fantastic on the 45-minute. We can see that funding is predicted to still be positive. We've slipped into a little bit of backwardation here, but nothing extreme to indicate that the market has, kind of swept into that same aggressive selling. It overall seems to me that individuals are buying this level, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. Let's look at the CMEs. CME did come up, filled that gap. I mean, that was impressive. I'm not going to lie. I was not expecting to have an immediate walk up and gap fill. 10% rally to the upside, filled that gap, went a little bit beyond, overshot it a little bit, and all the way back down, and then, what's also interesting is basically filling this gap here, right? Basically filling the closed to open gap that we formed here, which is pretty neat to see, right? It's pretty neat to see. So gap traders out there are feeling very vindicated and justified today. There's not a whole lot of places to go now. No gap fill. So again, Monday will be deterministic of this. Market's about to be closing here in, about, 2.5 hours. So, Renko has flipped negative for the first time now. And if we take a look at what the traditional markets are doing, we can see, we had a nice buyback yesterday on the E-mini futures on the SPY, but overall just dojing again, indicating that, again, we had a sell-off. We tried to put in a doji indicating, that we're at equilibrium. And after this buyback, we're putting in another doji indicating more equilibrium. So this does not look like an area of support to me. This looks, again, it's unclear right now. Definitely still battling it out, but a break at this level is going to take Bitcoin down with it. Or maybe the other way around. A break at this level on Bitcoin is going to take the SPY with it, which I think is the better way to look at it. Which I certainly think is the better way to look at it. Let's take a look at our long-term volume profile analysis here. All right. All right. So the much heralded golden cross right here. I don't really have much comments on this. I've talked about golden crosses and death crosses so much and how they're generally terrible to trade on dailies. Anyways, we do have the 200 simple moving average on the daily coming in down at around 80.45, logical area of support. But let's go to the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame, we've got the 200 small roughly sitting at the same area, and the 55 sitting a little bit underneath it at 79.56. Again, overall momentum I think is just generally flat here on the weekly time frames. We're not able to get lift off or push down. So currently we're just consolidating the red box territory. This is the overhead resistance area of Bitcoin's price. This was the high volume node. It's totally possible for price to hang out here a whole long time. We really do have to lose 8,000, which will kind of herald a drop back down to 6,000 to 7,000, which was overall what I was kind of looking for, right? We broke down, hit the back of the truck up, green box buy area, rallied all the way up to the red box. I think a nice movement down to the yellow box for kind of one last dip before we finally do move up and finally, for the first time in 2 years, break the red box territory and keep pushing to the upside, right? Keep pushing to the upside. Get above the current value area. Current value area overhead resistance kind of like 12,000. So getting above that puts us into parabolic run territory where I think we're going to be broaching past 19,000. Most likely we'll hit 22, 25,000 on that first initial push to the upside. And let's take a look and see what classical TA is going to be telling us about Bitcoin's price. No divergence, just confirmation here on the RSI as we recover from overbought territory, rallying back up, almost overbought territory and crossing back down today. MACD is indicating a negative histogram that is not overall generating a whole lot of strength, but no objective signal at this point in time. Chaikin money flow did reject kind of from the upper boundary territory here at 0.1 and is on the way back down. And stochastics have crossed back up. So basically everything is confirmed now. These slow oscillators, these are lagging indicators, have confirmed this movement to the upside. And we're seeing the kind of weakness just from this red candle. So really nothing here in the form of classical TA, in my opinion, here to see. Yeah. So pretty easy day, pretty easy profit taking day. I'll just be holding throughout this. We do have, of course, other trades in as well. Seeing some action coming in from the altcoins. Let's check crypto bubbles. Pretty good day against BTC for the altcoins as it holds fairly stable. Pretty good day against the dollar for altcoins as well. Is this Electroneum? Yeah, Electroneum up 42.7%. We haven't seen movements out of Electroneum for like 2 years. Interesting. But RCN, Sele, for the Neon Genesis Evangelion fans out there. Theta Coin up, 0x up again, Ziliqua up, Ethereum Classic up, Miota up, Atom up, EOS up just a little bit, Nano, Engine Coin. So overall, pretty good day. Pretty good day for the altcoin markets. Again, the alts are starting to breathe a little bit. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Yeah. Although Bitcoin dominance is holding pretty well, we are on the daily. Bitcoin dominance has broken down below the breaking Bitcoin initiator. Bitcoin dominance has broken down below the breaking Bitcoin initiator. Parallax has also flipped bearish. Minx has also flipped bearish. ATR is on the decline. Wadatar Explosion is on the decline. So really, I think that we could see a pretty volatile movement from... oh, wait, hold on just a second. Yeah. Spoke too soon. I knew this wasn't correct. Yeah, spoke too soon. Sorry. So setting this back to the correct settings on breaking Bitcoin, I knew that wasn't correct by looking at it because I knew yesterday I wanted to see Bitcoin dominance below 67% before I started making big moves into altcoins. I think that right now, yeah, so 66.79% is where we want to see Bitcoin dominance drop down below before we start making big plays, in my opinion, into altcoins. Right now, you're kind of in that speculative sniping mode if you want to start picking up altcoins at relative lows. It doesn't make it the most horrible play, but I don't like playing reversals. I think that we can see that nice trend flip, and we can have a little bit of a mini alt season here, maybe a protracted alt season, because we did just have a big fundamental event in Bitcoin. There was a lot of excess capital sloshing through the markets, and you can already see the pump being primed. We covered that article from Coinbase yesterday, and you got to remember, like Coinbase and Binance and all these other exchanges know that they make a lot of money when it is alt season, when altcoins are doing well and individuals move into altcoins. Listen, guys, I mean, this is pretty simple math. You just had the halving. We've got a lot of new retail money that just entered into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is like kind of boring for the last, week or so. And everybody's like, oh, is it going to dump? Is it going to pump? Nobody knows. And so people are like sitting there, they're like, oh man, I bought Bitcoin before the halving and it ran up a little bit and then it dropped back down to my entry and now it's back up a little bit. Ooh, okay, this was exciting. I'm going to buy some altcoins, right? I'm going to diversify, right? It only takes about a week to want to diversify into altcoins, most first-time purchasers of Bitcoin. And you see Coinbase and Binance and OKEx and OKEX and the other big exchanges priming the pump for this. So it's coming. It's most likely coming. So being prepared for that is okay. So yeah, you're talking about Crypto 360, York. That's the one with squares. So again, I would be watching for this technical objective signal. Bitcoin dominance dropping below 66.79%. I expect it's going to be about 67.5 by the time we actually get down there. Without a big without a big fatty, without a big red candle coming in from the Bitcoin dominance chart. So we'll be watching that pretty closely. And then I think we can start looking for the technical indications to move into altcoins. Alt BTCs will be profitable to trade there finally. They're going to put in the biggest performance. Alt USDTs, maybe. So again, good profitable strategy to accumulate Bitcoin on the way down is to hold your head short open on Bitcoin when we do crack below the baseline, and or whatever your hedging strategy might be, and then to go ahead and go long on your alt BTCs because those will do well when we finally get into our little alt season here. Total crypto market cap has flipped negative again, indicating kind of bearish overall for the market. BLX index, nothing here to really report. Talked about BVol. Bitcoin volatility is down below the point. This is that Bitcoin volatility 24-hour divided by Bitcoin volatility over the last 7 days. And so I've kind of defined some metrics here that when BVol is below 0.3, that's a pretty good time to enter. Again, doesn't give you directional bias, but it's a good time to enter. And anytime we're above 0.5 is a good time to take profit. So right now we're at a pretty good entry level as volatility is quite low. Low periods of volatility are followed and preceded by periods of high volatility. So high volatility is going to follow this this relative low period of volatility, and that is going to be a large movement. And I expect that movement. To be to the downside, but feel free to apply your own directional bias. You can see USDT dominance on the decline up to 3.44%. This indicates that individuals are getting skittish and beginning to sell. USDT dominance is increasing in the market capitalization. This is why USD and USDT pairs are not going to do well when Bitcoin dominance cracks below the initiator. This is why alt BTC pairs will do well though. Long short ratio on the decline. Long short ratio at 3.08060, coming off of our highs up here at like 10. So quite a decline over the last few months. And just to get a little bit more granular with that numbers, we can actually see the decline in the longs and the relative increase in the shorts. That's just fine. 2020, beginning of 2020. Yeah. So shorts up 61% year over year. Longs down 18% year over year, right? So since the beginning of 2020, longs are down almost 19%. Shorts are up 61%. We can see here, we talked about this yesterday. We can see the decrease in exchange net flow, indicating that there is more outflow than inflow still. So that means you could kind of correspond this to more buy side two-way flow on Bitcoin from the two-way flow that there's more buy side than sell side. So overall, this is decent. This can be considered bullish, but again, we already covered this with regard to the miners. The miners are the biggest transmitters of crypto, of Bitcoin, to the exchanges, and they are transmitting less. You can take away from that miners are that is a sign of strength from the miners. I think that it is a show. I think it is an attempted show of strength. I think it is an attempted show of strength because, as I said earlier, miners know that the entire world is watching them. And if they show a sign of weakness now, then the rest of the market is going to follow with this kind of spree of panic selling. They don't want that. They want prices to go up because they've just taken a huge chunk to their profitability. However, they can't front for very long. So that's why I said the difficulty adjustment coming in on Monday afternoon, the price action from the speculators coming in on Monday, that's going to be very deterministic of the big movement that we get. And I would not be adverse to seeing the actual directional impulse coming over the weekend. Normally, I would want to ignore weekend movements. I would not be ignoring this weekend, particularly the Asian trading sessions. We can see here, hash rate continuing to decline. Let's look at the raws. This is the 7-day moving average. So here's hash rate. This was Monday, the day of the this was Sunday, the day before the halving. This is Monday, the day of the halving, and this is what hash rate has done since Monday. So dropping from a little over 120 exahash all the way down now below 100 exahash. We're at 95 exahash. So that is that's a big decline. We saw a big decline in hash rate. It did happen. The only thing that we haven't seen is miners pushing excess Bitcoin onto exchanges to cover their unprofitability. Maybe they're taking advantage of some of that EIDL money, some of that sweet paycheck protection program, government helicopter cash. A block size has remained pretty constant, so that's good. The network is very, very strong. As we can see here, Bitcoin daily volume is really, really down over the last few days. Remember that sell side pressure is relatively constant. And so when volume is down, this generally is indicative of lack of buying pressure. Zuhair Nakvi says, there's a lot of liquidity in terms of short stops above 10,200. So a short squeeze to 10,200 before we move down. Yeah, that's always possible. When you're looking for targets for where a short squeeze is going to occur, you want to look at pockets of liquidity. Now, having said that, I think that the best metric to watch is going to be the premium, the funding and premium index. We already had kind of this nice little blow off top and a failure to achieve. So right now, just from a classical perspective, looking at this, kind of looking at this high level that was already, well, you know what? I'm not going to lie. Looking at this, there's actually not a real sweep of liquidity. One thing that you can say, you could zoom out a little bit and say, okay, well, look, where was the big profitable movement for shorts? Right? Was right here. So this was a profitable movement for shorts. But anybody who didn't take their profit and stubbornly held all the way back up, their entry got swept right here. So you could consider this movement a sweep of this level, which would make this high a safe area to place a stop loss, right? Because it's already been swept. Now, if you don't zoom out and you're just looking at current price, then you're just going to see the current high. And you're going to say to yourself, well, it hasn't been swept yet. So that means that those stop losses are fraudulent. I wouldn't really be looking at 10,200. Maybe. I would be focused on more closer price action because this is where people are most likely going to be setting their stops, in my opinion, off of this recent decline, sell to the downside. But yeah, if you are taking this one into account, then yeah, people would have been placing their stop losses, up here at 10,200. So I'm not overly concerned about that $10,200 level. I think if we push up to 10,200, I don't think that would be a short squeeze. It just depends on what the price action looks like following the short squeeze, right? I cover this in the time transformation video. If you see a strong candle close on high volume above a local high or a level of resistance, that's a breakout 9 times out of 10, not a squeeze. If you see a candle that looks like this, If you see a candle that looks like this, long wick to the upside that closes all the way back down, that's a sweep. That's a liquidation. That's a liquidity raid, short stop run, whatever you want to call it. I call them sweeps. They're also called raids. That is a reversal candle. That's a pretty good sign, particularly when it's combined with some other technical indications. For example, here, when the premium spiked and you had predicted funding rate positive, meaning that everybody was market longing that. And that's the perfect opportunity for institutional side flow to fill limit sell orders to dump onto the market. So I'm not overly concerned about that particular movement because A, you can't really predict them, in the sense that if there is going to be a short raid, that's a logical price area, just like 10,000 is going to be a logical price area. So 10,000 to 10,200, if you're trying to catch wicks, is a good area to set limit sell orders, right? Of course. Alternatively, one thing that you can monitor to see if this was a good entry, or if you are trading against the trend and you're shorting a breakout, is to look at how we close. What is the nature of the close? What's the nature of price action when we get to that level? If we close above the high, if we close above 10,200 on a full-bodied green candle with good volume, that's a breakout. Most likely that's a breakout, and that's something that you want to long or buy the next, or buy a pullback, right? But typically Bitcoin just tends to pop and keep going. If you get this like long tail up there, like this candle right here, then you most likely have a pretty gosh darn good entry. Hold on for dear life, because if you can hold it out, you're probably going to get a big old red fatty and have a profitable trade. Stellar, I don't really like Stellar, in my opinion. I don't like Stellar or XRP. Personally, I hold some Stellar, but I'm this is going to sound silly. I'm not a huge big fan of the project. Kind of have that same centralized digital ledger problems that both XRP and XLM have. And honestly, I think that Algorand has solved that better. If you want to know an enterprise blockchain that I think will be successful, I think it's going to be Algorand. I don't think it's going to be XRP or XLM. But I could be wrong. I know that XRP has a big community out there, big, social pressure, but we've covered the metrics. We've actually seen them declining their social media presence, declining their knowledge. They've been slashing their Telegram channel. Participation is down. Almost all of the XRP blocks are non-data. So, that's all speculation because Algorand isn't pushing that much transactional volume anyways either, right? Less than XRP, certainly. But just from a developmental standpoint, I like Algorand's blockchain far more and their solution to scaling and privacy than I like XRP's. So with regards to Atom, Komodo, and VeChain, fundamentally, I like Komodo the best. I hold Komodo, stake Komodo. Komodo is a fantastic project, in my opinion. I don't know if it's going to see a lot of commercial success or adoption, but the community is really nice. The development team is really nice. And they care, right? So Komodo is a good project. Don't really have a lot of strong thoughts on Cosmos. I have a little bit of Cosmos from the original airdrop. I don't really have any strong thoughts on Cosmos. VeChain is pretty neat. I hold VeChain too. I'm pretty bullish on VeChain. They're really big, in the Asian market. A lot of popularity, a lot of thoughts on VeChain. A lot of sentiment, a lot of positive sentiment on VeChain, a lot of good partnerships, a lot of good action. They're actually doing real world things. They're actually solving some real world problems. I see them being popular I see VeChain being popular in the kind of luxury goods sector for blockchain communication. Any thoughts on Verge? Yeah, Verge is a pump and dump. You know what I mean? You know, Verge is. I mean, listen, I think that you can make money off of Verge. I think that you can make sats off Verge because Verge is like, it's a low sat coin. It gets pumped and dumped. It moves up real fast. It moves down real fast. So there's opportunity in there. That's, I mean, you know, you guys all know how it is, man. Like pump and dumps, low sats, high risk, high reward. You know, there's opportunity there. There really is, but there's a lot of risk. Like if you think you're going to go to the low sats, and like diversify into low sats, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, if your net worth is $100,000 and you're going to make $10,000 investment, which is a sizable investment, that's 10% of your net worth, which means your net worth, by the way, like includes the house you own, the cars that you own, you know, how much money you have in the bank, right? So if your net worth is $100,000, you most likely, if you're an average American, if you're an average person out there, have maybe a $10,000 to $20,000 investment portfolio, right? So a 10% swing on that is huge to you, right? That's a big investment. That's not money that you should be putting into low sats. That's money you should put into Bitcoin, Ethereum. You know, if you want to be a little bit more extreme than that, right? You've got your Litecoin, you've got your EOS, you've got your Cardano, you know, maybe, you know, gold, silver, good dividend returning stocks, right? Strong growth, strong dividend stocks like McDonald's and Coca-Cola, right? That's what you want to be. You want to build a good, stable platform of investments, right? Now, when it comes to low sats, right? I'm not saying I don't play them because I certainly do. I trade them too. But I think for the average investor looking at low sats, right? That is your, you know, Tika Tawari, who, you know, say what you will about him. He's got the right idea about this, right? You don't need big position sizes, you know? You want to get some Verge, go get $100 worth of Verge, right? If Verge goes up 1,000%, boom. You know what I mean? You made good on your investment. If you throw, it's just my honest opinion, if you throw $10,000 into Verge, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it. Because where you know, the slippage is going to be insane if it pumps the way that you think it is. That's just my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. I wouldn't, you know, I don't diversify into low sats. Now, with that being said, I mean, I do, you know, I do have some what would be considered low sats that I think are fundamentally good, right? That I've invested in. I've talked about these before. I like Flexicoin. I like Unibright. But you know, again, that's like two of 20 coins that I've made allocations into over the last, you know, year or so. They are, you know, back in 2016, 2017, I did the exact same thing. Picked some winners, did good on them, picked some losers, lost money. It is what it is. Yeah, silver pumping today. Let's take a look at silver. I am long on silver. Man, it's getting late. I wanted to bring the other guys on here. Yeah, Blue Box says, God, let's not be a shill channel. Yeah, let's keep this. Let's turn it down, guys. Let's turn it down. I like Tezos. I like Link. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to bring... I'm going to bring Alex and Jason on. So give me a second. And all right, I got senior analyst Alex and junior analyst Jason on the line here. I'm actually going to turn on some soft tunes as well as we kind of cover some news events.
Let's get some lo-fi chill hop going.
Nah.
Hey, Justin, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah. I love the show, man. All right, so
Welcome to Relationship Talk with Justin, Alex, and Jason. Hi.
yeah. We've got Jason from Sheboygan. How you doing today, Jason?
Oh, just hanging out in Sheboygan like one does.
Yeah. Anyways, what do you guys think?
To bring into what one of the people in the chat said on worrying about that sweep of the 10-2 range, I really, like, from what everything Justin went over as well as the blow off top, I really don't see that happening. I think we're going to break down from here, to be honest with you. I think the mentality that you're getting stuck in is one that I used to as well. It's like, well, it's going to have to go back up there because most likely the people that's asking that is because they're still sitting in a long that they're underwater on. So the long story of that would be just assess where your positions are, and if you're already in a losing situation, don't chase it, close it out. But I don't think we're going to sweep the 10-2 range. If we did, and I wouldn't think that it would be any kind of short squeeze at that point. I would think we would push through.
I think it's a good point that we likely have a lot of trapped buyers.
Yes, for sure. I mean, with the amount of new people that are coming into the market and getting excited, even your grandma's asking about Bitcoin, everyone's longing it, getting excited, fearing that they're going to miss out, stuff like that. And so from the range of that 98 to 9600, I bet there's a lot of trap buyers and they're waiting for that wick to the upside.
We actually have a member that I know of that he bought the top over in early March. He bought right around 10,000, and then it drops to the 8K range, and he held on, thinking, surely it will. It's gotta sweep 10K again, right? It's gotta hit. So he held on to it, and then of course it dropped to the 50%. Then so he's continued to hold, and I know he was right around break even, and then here we've just broken right back down. So you really have to think about all the trapped buyers, because it's a real thing, and then there are real people who are trapped in these positions,
and I do believe it's the buildup of that psychology that when you really begin when these things open up, you really see it start running off. Like that's when you get these really big sweeps to the downside.
If you think this guy isn't waiting to dump his, I think he bought it like 10-3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did not hit there, so he's still holding on to it. I haven't talked to him this week, but I'd bet money on it. And you just he's trapped. He's waiting to dump it, and there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people just like him, and so that's what makes this area such an attractive target for people to sell into, and it's what we've seen happen here. As we reach 10K, we dumped a lot of volume up in that area, but we just couldn't breach it. We broke back down. We broke back down to the bullish order block around 8,300, gathered some strength, made another go at it, and then we just ended up dumping a whole bunch more longs into this area, which, as Justin showed, we ended up we dumped so many longs that the funding on BitMEX became a premium, and we couldn't get through the area. So I definitely agree with Justin that we're likely to see at least a little bit more retracement over the weekend. I mean I don't know. I'm not willing to say that we're headed down to 7K or something like that. I think if we did that, we'd probably end up near 5K. If we would probably keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that as well. I mean, it's not really up to us to decide exactly where price will go, because I mean, of course, I do believe that we're going to be going to the downside, as the members know. I'm in two different shorts. On that sweep of 9255, I hit my first take profit from the earlier short after the long.
That was a good trade.
That was a nice little setup, especially after the whole hubbub of the hedging, But you gotta follow the system.
Marshall says there's no audio on YouTube. You barely hear us.
Yeah, I fixed that.
Oh, you fixed that? Okay, just trouble checking. Please continue. Sorry.
But yeah, especially considering the weekend and everything, the way that the charts are looking, I really do think that the 2-hour short that I put on yesterday will likely hit take profit 1 today, I think. But that would be a test of the 9264 range.
I want to answer a question here from Jeremy6. He says, Justin, do you happen to know why the ByBit USDT perpetual contract does not have a reduce order option like the inverse perpetual has? Well, if by reduce order you mean close a portion of your position out, they actually do. Let's see if we can do this without booting up my VPN. I don't think that we'll just see. We'll see what we can do. All right. Hello. No, it's not you. It's not you. It's me.
Yeah, likely story.
It's not. Oh, here we go. Duh. Let's go to the USDT perpetual contract. So if you're logged in over here on the right hand side where it just says, hey, register an account or log in, you will actually see a couple different options. You have 2 tabs. One is called open and one is called close. And then underneath those tabs, you can select between buy and sell. So if you open a short, right, go into, that's going to be on your open tab. Go into your close tab and close with a buy, and you'll see the big green button that says close short, right? Just as if you close and select sell, it'll say close long, the execution button. So that is certainly a feature of the USDT perpetual contract. So let's say you take a 1 Bitcoin short and you want to take half a Bitcoin profit somewhere and then half a Bitcoin a little bit lower than that. Well, you'd use the open function to either open your trade via a limit order or a market order, and then you use the close function to close via a buy your short trade. You could also set that stop loss right in the trade. So usually the way I do this is I market enter on almost everything. So I'll market enter and set my stop loss pursuant to mark price right in the order confirmation, no take profit, and then I'll use the close to set multiple take profits because I'm a multiple take profit trader.
I didn't used to be, and there's a reason I am now, because you make money.
Is that thing we like to say? Move stop loss to break even?
Oh, dude, that I swear to God, I'm getting that tattooed on me.
Go take a nap. Go take a nap.
That was my biggest problem coming into trading. Is I'm not sure how everyone experiences their first times trading or whatever. Didn't really struggle too bad with the hit rate. I only traded long, but the biggest problem was I was waiting for the moon, man. And every single time you're like, yeah, good gain there. Then you just wait and then you don't take any profit. And then all of a sudden it's back below and then you sell it and lose money. You're like, what the hell is going on? Take profit, save my life.
I got a comment on this. I guess I don't got much. So Jason, if you are in 2 different shorts, do you still put your shorts on 1 leg at a time?
I told him, and there I jump into shorts and pants, both legs at the same time.
Both legs at the same time. Do you? I mean,
100x.
Do you use like a trampoline or is just a bunk bed?
No, it's the jump rope method.
The jump. Jason, have you ever put on jeans that you needed a pair of pliers to close?
No comment.
Okay, moving on. Says, hey man, you didn't tell me you were looking back through my Instagram photos.
Yeah, whoa, you got a problem with skinny jeans, buddy?
Yeah, dude, we don't.
Just saying. I'm just saying, if I ever come into the office and Alex, if you are in, like a yoga position on your back, like with your, pulling your zipper up with a pair of pliers, I mean. I might have.
I'll probably be looking damn good, is what I'll be having.
Yeah, that's gonna be the first thought, and then the second thought is, where's this going?
We do the
do the lemons, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
And also, one more like. Come on, guys. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get 50 likes during a stream? It wouldn't seem like much, but it's actually quite a bit.
All right, let's put some lemons in the basket here. Big shout out to everybody watching on DLive. 22 individuals watching on DLive. Thanks so much to everybody over here. Mirko, I see Dark Rico, DePie Guy as always. Robin from the Hood, the 178. Rhino TD. And Robin, DePie, thank you so much. Puts the lemons in the basket. All right, distributing those rewards to DLive right now. And Midwest Attempts, the Pie Guy, Robin from the Hood, Squeaky Tadpole, and Rhino TD, big winners. Rhino TD wants to know what channel that I tune into. You tune into the channel where you get free lemons.
Yeah, heard it here.
Hey, thank you guys so much for the likes. Highly appreciated.
You have no idea.
Furry Boffin in the house. Good to see you, my friend.
There's the real man, the myth, the legend. No one even knows.
The man, the myth, the man who makes it all happen behind the scenes.
The roof builder.
The roof builder.
The roof builder.
Okay, hey, let's go through this news, guys. So, all right, so let me pull up my notes. This is just kind of in keeping with we've been talking about, obviously, this concept of the world trending toward, digitization of the dollar. And, we see Visa kind of wading into the arena now. So, highlights of this obviously is that, Visa, they do global payment cards. Binance had their little snafu with trying to get the Visa card, but Visa has just filed this patent for a blockchain-based digital currency. And I mean, this looks very, very much like a stable coin. They're not creating some kind of crypto coin. They're creating a stable currency. And in their document, basically the word that they use is their system would remove a physical currency from circulation in a fiat currency system. So, I mean, right there, I mean, you can't say stable coin any closer than that. Now, I still am very much more pro this approach than a centralized command and control government approach. This is still a free market approach, even though Visa and MasterCard have somewhat of a monopoly on payment processing. I mean, that market share is declining as we see more decentralization and more competition in the marketplace. But yeah, this is a stable coin or a pseudo digital dollar. So do you guys have any thoughts on this? I want to.
Oh, I realized suddenly that you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this a central bank digital currency? So it's not. It's a free market.
Well, this is a stable coin from Visa, right? So it's certainly not. It's not a. It's certainly not a CBDC.
Okay.
Let's see here. So
what's it backed by?
Let's see here. Visa International has filed a patent application for a decentralized system of a fiat-pegged cryptocurrency system. So it's pegged to fiat, just like, well,
okay.
That's a good question, right? What's
Fiat's not pegged to anything.
What's backing the tether, right?
Right.
What's backing the dollar? Guns. The answer is guns. Guns is the answer.
20 pounds of golden doubloons.
No, the answer is guns. Guns, planes, and trains. That's what's backing the United States dollar.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Interesting.
Certainly not cruise ships.
It could be regulated by a central entity, i.e., a federal country bank.
I'm not the one to probably weigh in on it because I don't know enough, but to me, this sounds like what we're doing already. I mean, just a.
I guess the question is, right? The question is this, what would you rather see? We're going to be moving toward a digital dollar. This is, indisputable. We're going to be seeing a digital dollar moving forward. Are we going to see, would we rather see the Tether Treasury having the big stable coin out there Do we want to see the U.S. government come out with the actual, federal digital greenback? Or do we want to see the Visa dollar? Or do we want to kind of see, do we not want to see a CBDC? I'm certain that we are going to, but do we think it's a good idea that we're seeing these free market alternatives to what will be central bank digital currencies so that we can kind of decentralize the utilization of currency rather than...
Go ahead, Alex.
Okay. I feel like Bitcoin is the free market alternative. I feel like this is just another type of centralized control, only it's not a central bank digital currency. This is like a corporate owned digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know. I feel like I would rather have the devil Like at this point, I would rather have a central bank digital currency because I know all the different ways the government is going to use central currencies to regulate things, control the population. It's good, it's bad. There's drawbacks and stuff like that. And we can go into all of that about the benefits of centralized fiat currencies. But my point is that at least we know what we're getting. But with these corporate controlled fiat systems, we definitely know the corporate controlled stuff is not going to be for the benefit of society. They're not even going to really pay lip service to it more than just until they onboard you into it, and then they'll be like, okay, thanks for signing our terms of service, fuck you, excuse me, I don't know if I can say that, I don't know, but nonetheless.
Hold on, wait. I got it.
That's how it is. All right, awesome. So yeah, that's my feelings on it. I would rather go with the devil and have a central bank digital currency.
Robin, I just wanted to say, Robin from the Hood says, but you can sue a corporation. That's a big advantage. Can't sue the federal government.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to sue a corporation? They'll sue you right back into the ground. They win almost every time.
The Fed's a corporation, right?
The Federal Reserve is a corporation. That is true.
But for me, I don't want to get too into the weeds with this type of stuff. To me, what this is, the overall sense of it is, it's kind of like that adapt or be crushed mentality. And what I see from this is that it's slowly going to be these are going to be the catalysts, whether these work or not. People are going to start getting used to crypto, stuff like that, to where we're all going to see this big paradigm shift into in my opinion, the Bitcoin system is already built. So once we get people just onto any kind of crypto, it's going to be an easy transition over into BTC, in my opinion. So whether these work out or not, I think they're going to be catalysts.
Yes, York. It stays on hand. It's so I can celebrate, significant price movements, and then go back to studiously looking at the chart. I think you both bring up good points. I was watching Andreas Antonopoulos' latest videos last night before I went to bed, and he was talking about upgrades to the Lightning Network or new innovations that are coming in on the Lightning Network. And for those of you guys who aren't kind of deeply steeped into what's currently going on at the cutting edge of Bitcoin development, you got things like submarine payments and trampoline payments and routing and watchtowers and all of these things, right? And if you go and read the comments section and Andreas Antonopoulos's videos, you've got a good amount of comments in there that are positive and saying, hey, awesome content, good looking out. Oh my God, Andreas, I love you. And then you've got computer developers aren't getting that kind of love. But if you can read an overwhelming amount of the comments and they're like, hey man, this stuff is way too complicated. No regular person's going to understand this or want to use this. And, that is kind of in line with a little bit of what Alex and Jason were saying there, in my opinion, kind of this idea that, well, Jason, you were actually arguing, you were saying that, once people get into, maybe you were saying once they get the gateway drug of a digital currency, that moving over to Bitcoin is easy for them. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people still don't understand crypto. I think we've made it as easy as possible, but
we are still in the early adopter phase for sure. The vast majority of people don't get it, and this will be the thing that gets that little catalyst going in their mind where, oh, this isn't very much different than what I'm doing. It just actually gives me a lot more power over people controlling my money. You know what I mean?
It's like they talk about on Let's Talk Bitcoin. They talk about the sovereignty staircase, right? Like when you first get into crypto, you've taken a step toward financial independence and freedom. You've made your first purchase of cryptocurrency, but you have it on a centralized exchange. You don't control your own keys, so it's not really your coin. So, kind of the next step from there is getting your crypto off of the exchanges onto a hardware wallet. Maybe the next step from there is running your own full node. And maybe the next step from there is actually learning how to code and contribute to the system, right? And evangelizing. So these are all steps towards self-sovereignty. And, you can kind of go up and down the ladder as necessary. So as many people as we can get, just in the bottom rung of financial sovereignty is better. With regards to, a CBDC versus a corporate coin, I think that the protections for consumers against corporations are far more instantiated in our legalese than they are against the government. We've kind of seen how the Constitution has been treated, but still an important document. I'm not of the opinion that the Constitution has just been burned. I think people overreact. The Constitution is still very, very important, and that is the primary document that protects American citizens from the government, not the other way around. I am still very much in favor. I think it is inevitable that we are going to be seeing more central bank digital currencies and more corporate coins moving forward. And I would like to be on the right side of that to see. I would like to be on the right side of that to see the reach and the market share that these corporations already have. And again, they provide valuable goods and services, right? Like if Visa didn't do anything valuable, nobody would use Visa. If MasterCard didn't do anything valuable, nobody would use MasterCard, right? Banks are notorious for, obviously, if we want to talk about what industry could be more efficient and better, it would certainly be banks. But people forget the alternative. Like we created banks or we allowed banks to get a lot of market revenue for a good reason. And that was that back in the day, everybody just walks around today with money that just exists digitally in their checking account and their savings account. They got a debit card in their pocket and they don't think about their money. But if you think this is a philosophical issue. How do you store value and move it across time? So when you think about, well, how do I work now and get paid and hold on to that value? I mean, you got to think like, okay, what do I hold it in? Do I hold it in gold? Do I hold it in silver? Do I hold it in dollars? Right. And there wouldn't be that gold. There wouldn't be that dollar without, and then where do you store it? Right. Like, do I carry it around in my pocket? Then I can get robbed. Right. So,
I think it's an evolutionary thing, to be honest with you. I hate to go too big picture, but in terms of physical wealth, we live in a digital world, and look what's happening. We got plans to go to Mars and stuff like that. I mean, down the road, these things are going to have to traverse planets, in my opinion. Like you can't just have gold, physical bullion, and stuff like that, like transacting. You need everything to be digitized. You know what I mean? And still have a way to have a store of value.
I mean, if that's a great point. And if we're looking that far into the future, eventually we'll be able to mine asteroids, and then gold's going to be basically worthless because there's trillions of dollars. Yeah,
I've said that as well. Like once we start space mining, like we can blow the volume of gold up. But like the one thing we can't do is still Bitcoin. I mean, of course, quantum computing, stuff like that, the arguments come up there, but I always have to be of the belief of when things are created, like quantum computers, they necessitate the creation of quantum security and stuff like that. Of course, there will be hiccups throughout time, but that's how anything evolves.
The inflation of gold, I mean, if you look at a long enough time span, like the thousands of years, is essentially, going to continue onwards, but Bitcoins is only going to continue to decrease.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the long tail. That's it.
Yeah, I would assume that,
we can't be selfish and just think about our lifetimes here.
Yeah, I mean, with the progression that we're making as a society toward digitization, and this is really what the cypherpunk movement, which inspired Bitcoin, I think is allowing us to have, right? We are trying to use this watershed moment where we are seeing the world move from what it has always done for the last few thousand years of civilization, where there is some form of physicality, some physical element in reality to back up wealth and currency, protected by the nation state. And originally, I mean, we just got rid of the gold standard over the last 100 years. So it was just in the last 100 years that we moved to a fully system where it is not backed by anything that is actually physical, right? Again,
and the question is, why did it become unbacked?
Well, I think you made a good point when you talked about evolution, right? We could talk about whether it was good or bad that the strength of the United States dollar is backed by the military and, its ability to be utilized as a world reserve currency. But I think that would have happened one way or the other. People can cast the United States in as the bad guy, but it would have happened with some country somewhere at some point in time, because we need to move away from a physical store of wealth to a digital store of wealth, right? This is a natural progression as we've moved most of our work from the physical world to the digital world. Most of the cutting edge stuff happens in development, and math, advanced mathematics now happens digitally. All of these things. It's a natural progression. And what the cypherpunk movement did, and what Bitcoin is allowing us to do now, is try to use this watershed moment where we're making a big change as a species. We're moving from physical money to digital money, and without Bitcoin, that transition would just be CBDC or some kind of big stable coin or some kind of corporate coin. Bitcoin's trying to put itself in there in the middle and be like, whoa. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to shift and actually use this moment where people need money, need to transact the money, and we need to move to a digital dollar to make this a free and open decentralized system of money and get rid of the influence of banks and the government influence over the monetary system, which I think is very, very positive.
I do too. I think it's important for the human species, honestly, to take away all of the stupid little nuances that banks have control over that we could easily take charge of with utilizing something like Bitcoin, and then get rid of all of those worries so we can focus on things that actually make us better as a species. Because money is the worst creation, in my opinion, of the human race. Just by what it does to human creativity.
Yes, in some ways it stifles creativity, but in other ways, having money activates all of these behaviors that otherwise wouldn't be possible. Having money allows us to abstract away
to organize
that money.
chaos.
We're still with the barter system, and there's so many complex.
But I don't think it needs to be so centralized to the point where we see the extreme shifts that we do between middle and upper class and lower class. I don't think that needs to be nearly what it is. And I believe something like Bitcoin, taking back your own financial future, stuff like that. I mean, that sounds shilly and all that stuff, but I mean, that's what, I joined this watching this channel just like anyone else, and I've come in and built my system, and I'm using different techniques to basically quit my job, and I was able to do that. And suddenly now I'm making money by controlling my own future, and it's not that hard, and I have to work 90% less than I did in a physical labor job. That's crazy to me. I think the rest of the world should see that too.
Oh, I don't disagree with you, but I think it's just I don't know if the existence of Bitcoin solves the existence of inequality.
No, I'm not saying it will do that. With other things, because I believe blockchain will be a big center of this. For instance, what Brave browser is doing. I think that's a great project, in that you can take us back to a 1950s style ad era, instead of where now they're paying for clicks, and usually that's targeting really bad things because hate usually incites clicks and stuff like that. But instead, on Brave, you can get paid for watching things that you like because it tracks your cookies, and then you can opt in to watch ads, and they target them towards the things that you like to search. So why not get paid for your time? If you can do the micro payments across the board, instead of having to pay these big companies, just pay one podcaster or something like that a ton of money to try to shill all their stuff. If we could just get an ecosystem running to where we get paid for what we do, and it self runs that ecosystem, that's what I think. You can make part of your income from just you're daily surfing or watching Netflix or something like that. Like, why wouldn't we do that? Because I think that would free up a lot of people's anxiety about bills and stuff like that, to where we'd have more time to think about creative things. Just, I'm jumping off there, but that's just why I got into this, because I do believe what we're dealing with now is the beginning of the future, especially with blockchain and Bitcoin.
Just wanted to point out that kind of their model is that you would go, this is very similar to the digital dollar proposal that was made in the last kind of in Congress in the last round of, you know, kind of the coronavirus stimulus bills. It didn't actually get passed, but what they say here is Visa's invention aims to create a system where cash can be scanned, put on a blockchain in the form of cryptocurrency, and removed from circulation. So this would be basically a redeeming entity such as an ATM or bank accepts the physical currency in exchange for digital fiat currency. So when that happens, basically that physical currency gets burned, essentially, right? Just like, you know, we have cryptos burned in BNB and other currencies, for example, right? All right, good thoughts, good points from everybody. I wanted to talk. We already kind of covered this. We talked about the dropping of Bitcoin hash rate. Matty Greenspan coming out and confirming this as well. The 36% drop rate and hash rate since the actual halving. Matty says this is well within the long-term range. So far, this is just a reversion to the mean. I actually, again, do think that the bulls are wrong on this one. That we are going to see the decline. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, the difficulty adjustment is going to come in on Monday, so we'll see what happens over the weekend, and we'll see if the difficulty adjustment will be pro or negative. A lot can happen over the weekend. And this is not correct. This idea that Bitcoin hash rate has recovered, it's not correct. We can see that miner revenue has dropped quite a bit. This is the tweet from Matty Greenspan.
Hey, speaking of hash rate, did you know FTX just added a Bitcoin hash rate perpetual contract so you can trade the hash rate?
Yeah, I was actually looking at that. That seems like
Gambling?
that seems like gambling. But I mean, you know, it's a good bet if you know, like, for example, right? If somebody calls you and tells you that, hey, there's about to be a drought in the Sichuan province of China, you would assume that hash rate's going to go down a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Goes up, baby.
Or if you knew the halving was coming out, you'd be like, oh, well, I mean, it's going to be another 4 years before that happens. But
that's
let's see if that perpetual contract is still running around in 4 years. Maybe we'll take some bets live.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I think they've got a Bitcoin dominance one too, and
Yeah.
that
What you should do now is put a very small position and then wait 4 years.
Yeah. I would, well, if you want to go, I think hash rate's going to do nothing but soar. So if you want to go put that long on,
Long it up, dude. 4 years. Let's see.
you got to look at that. You know, I have to look at the contract specifications, because certainly, I mean, anybody would want to do that, right? So I would assume that the funding rate would probably chew you down over time.
Oh yeah, for sure.